This reflection video is about the case 247348 of November 16, 2021. This case revolves around the petitioner, who was then 24 years old, met with the victim, who was only 14 years old that time. The two exchanged messages on Messenger, and the petitioner then courted the victim, and after 2 weeks they got into a relationship. Later on, the parents of the victim found out about their relationship, and they were strongly against it. However, the two ignored the parents' disapproval and still continued the relationship. Sometime in October 16, the father of the victim found out that the petitioner was sexually luring the victim to meet at a motel and having sent him pictures. The victim sent him the pictures, and the petitioner admits the accusations but denied sending her pictures of his as an exchange. One of the facts of this case is the petitioner later then broke up with the victim, saying that she should have been careful not to find out about sending him pictures, and also because the mother of the victim did not like him for her daughter. Later on, the petitioner learned from his co-workers that two criminal cases were filed against him. He was charged for violation of Section 10 of Republic Act 7610 as defined and penalized under Section 4 of Republic Act number 10175 in relation to Section 4.3 and Republic Act number 9775. Meanwhile, for the ruling of this case, upon a careful review of the records of this case, the court finds the petition to be without merit. On petitioner's right to privacy, one of the arguments raised by the petitioner before this court concerns the admissibility of the evidence presented by the prosecution, which was taken from his Facebook Messenger account. He claims that the photos presented in evidence during the trial of the case were taken from his Facebook Messenger account. According to him, this amounted to a violation of his right to privacy, and therefore any evidence obtained in violation therefore amounts to fruit of the poisonous tree. The court disagrees. The right to privacy is defined as the right to be free from the unwarranted exploitation of one's person, or from intrusion into one's private activities in such a way as to cause humiliation to a person's ordinary sensibilities. In this case, the photographs and conversations in Facebook Messenger account that were obtained and used as evidence against the petitioner, which he considers as fruit of the poisonous tree, were not obtained through the efforts of the police officers or any agent of the state. Rather than these were obtained from his account because the victim, to whom he gave his password, had access to it. Considering that he voluntarily gave his password to the victim, he in effect has authorized the victim to access the same. He did not even take steps to exclude the victim from gaining access to his account. Having been given the authorities to access his Facebook Messenger account, petitioner's reasonable expectation of privacy insofar as victim is concerned had been limited. Thus, there is no violation of privacy to speak of. Therefore, assailing the decision dated September 17, 2018 and resolution dated May 9, 2019, rendered by the Court of Appeals, which affirmed with modification the August 7, 2017 joint decision of the Regional Trial Court of Valenzuela City, Branch 270, in criminal case numbers 215 V17 and 216 V17, finding Christian Cadajas E. Cabias, the petitioner, guilty of violating Section 4 of Republic Act number 10175 in relation to Section 4.3 and Republic Act number 9775. One of my takeaways in this case is when the petitioner used the Privacy Data Act as his weapon to get away with the charges and accusations, which is logical and fair at the same time. The fact that we all have a right for that law and he just uses his rights to defend himself is somehow fair based on the law. But logically thinking, the data that was taken from his belongings, which is the phone, is a strong evidence against his case and accusations. Since the victim already deleted the pictures on her account, should be a lawful search since the evidences will lead for this case to solve and for the court to rule the petitioner of the appropriate charges for what he have done rather. So for this case, since the officers is not liable for the Privacy Data Act, since the photos were gathered the through the victim, and since the victim has an access to his account, it was a lawful search, and there wasn't any Data Privacy Act that was concerned of. And also, this law is definitely a must, and it should be given more acknowledgement and power so that it will protect more people or child who is being a victim, like on the case of Christian Cadajas, which on the first place he knew that the victim is only 14 years old and still young for relationship. Even if the victim gave a consent, it shouldn't be taken as a approval and reason for him to continue to get in contact with her as any way as possible. Since we can see at this case that it might lead for a traumatic experience for the victim as well as their youth. In conclusion, the consent should not mean that the abuser have the right or privilege to manipulate the victims to their selfish actions and intentions regarding of what are the reason. He should abide the law, and the law should be more in priority since this law meant to protect the victims for this kind of cases.